Good morning. Oh man, my webcam is off. Let me activate that. Activate. So if you use OBS, I have found that when you launch it and the webcam is already activated, sometimes it doesn't work. And then if you deactivate and activate it, many times it will start working again, but if you move side to side, you'll sort of bounce around. So what I found to do is deactivate, shut down, restart it, and then reactivate, and everything seems to work. Seems like a classic QA situation where they don't probably ever test it um, after it's been launched a bunch of times. But who knows? Anyways, so we are working on the data visualization 3GS. Oh, I got a nut for Rhett. Here you go. There you go, darling. Um, let's see. It is 8:30 already, so I have to start work at 9, so this video can't be too long. But one of my favorite things about working on this application has been that um, it's in like it takes me 2 or 3 sessions to do what would probably take me about 20, sometimes 20 minutes to do working. If I was working heads down, not interacting, not trying to talk, not trying to make a video. So in many ways, this is like kind of ability to sort of do things really slow in such a way that I can really tease apart all the different things that might be happening that I never thought about. And I have worked in positions before where we were all about the visualizations. It was just a visualization um, job. And the thing is we are okay. So here's a perfect situation, right? Where you can add a visualization, and you're like, oh, let me go ahead and undo that change. Um, so right now, all visualizations are 200 by 200, and it's controlled via CSS. So CSS is amazing for like when you're building or whenever you really understand the rules and what you want something to do every single time. But it's not so great when there is no specific rule on how everything should work. And I remember when I was working in just the visualization business, doing like D3 and different types of visualizations, uh, we did have sort of a set of bugs that would come through, and they were very predictable, but I could never quite put my finger on it. And basically, the deal is like all visualizations will probably find themselves in these three specific situations. One where they need to be shown in sort of some free form way, which is this view right now. Now you can't really, everything is very like like the idea is in the future, this view you'll be able to have like these visualizations sitting on top of each other or whatever. You'll be able to move them around, resize and all that, and then they'll display that way. Um, and then there's this view, which is your sort of your normal line grid view. And in this view, you probably always want your visualizations to be the exact same size. And then there's this view, and this is like an editing view, and basically you want the visualization that you're editing to take up whatever size is available. So it has three distinct sort of roles. And the thing is that sometimes when I was working on visualizations before, every visualization eventually had to get to the point where it was three, but they would make a story about one of the views, and then you'd build it that way, and then sort of build through, and then have to, I guess, monkey patch would be the best way, but have to shoehorn solutions in so that it can accommodate the other two, and it just depended on which one you started with as to what problems you had. Um, so now this guy has this problem, and in my experience, the best way to deal with this problem is to have the visualization where you just pass it what its height and width is going to be. Now, once you go down that path, then there's a couple of other issues you have to deal with, and one of them is timing issues. Like whatever you're doing to calculate the size of the visualization, especially if you're depending on something on the DOM, like, oh, I want to figure out what the width and the height of this is. like when the timing of when this thing reaches its height and width, and when you check becomes important. So you get these new timing issues. The other one is you're always very tempted to like have an input that is like an object, and like the whole object, whatever the object changes. Um, and that is sort of like what you'll see like sort of middling developers build. But then when you start seeing like the senior developers and the stuff that does that, they go back to something like st width equals input dot, and then it is a number, we'll say. So that means that'll be nice because we won't have to, like if something is trying to feed in a string, it'll throw an error in the transpiler number, and then I'm going to give it a default of 200 since that's kind of what we have right now. I don't know why this is a problem. Let's have a variable or property to access. Let me do this. Get rid of that. Maybe that's the problem. Oh, silly rabbit. Maybe equals input. Can't remember how you do this. Maybe it's like that, 200. Let's see. I know I can do the, let's see, input. Oh, okay, we are number 200. That's how you do that. So there's always a temptation to create like some sort of object that has a bunch of properties on it and all that. And I think that it would be the better way to do it, like from a abstraction perspective and all that, especially with TypeScript, where you can, you can easily see what all the options are. It is so hard to manage the telling the browser or telling JavaScript that something changed when it's an object. When it's a primitive, it just automatically sees a change. If you change it from 200 to 300, it sees it and it reacts. But when it's a object, it only will recognize it if you create a new object from the old object. So if you pass in some object, it's not going to, it's always going to be very difficult. You're always going to end up having some weird little bugs when you're trying to do implementations where I changed the width, why isn't it changing? I changed the height, why isn't it changing? And that's because there is a subtle difference in the way JavaScript handles. It's not even subtle. There's a huge difference between the way JavaScript handles widths and the way it handles primitives and the way it handles objects. So I think that's why you end up seeing the seniors start to revert back, but usually they can't really explain why. They just know that there's a lot of problems. And the reason is because they never really get a chance to sit down and think through things. Okay, so right off the bat, what we're doing is we're going to set this and we're going to make it to where it's an optional import. So the nice thing is now you can see what we did. And I was thinking about it and I was like, because yeah, we're going to want to change the left and the right. There's all kinds of stuff we're going to want to change. And this is going to be such an easy way to determine what you can change and what you can't and what's required and what's not required. So I think that this is probably the better way to do it, even though it may not be the sort of most academically tasteful way to do it. This is maybe not the most elegant way to do it, but it seems to be the most functionally reliable way to do it. Right. So now, right now, what happens is, gosh, that's so weird. Let's go to this view, go to that view, nope, that view. So we still should be good, right? This should work because we haven't changed the styles. But now what we're going to want to do is actually go back and get rid of these two. So we no longer want this set in the CSS. And it needs to be, I think, a rule. I think it makes sense to have a rule that says you have to set that. Right. You have to set it. That is so interesting. So when it redrew itself, it put the DOM there, but it didn't a DOM element there, and it had it in memory, but it didn't redraw the ThreeJS. That is a crazy edge case for the web developer, or for the people who build Angular. All right, so everything's still working. That's weird. We got rid of the 200 and 200. Let's see. And we're not using our new one. So that's interesting. I would never have expected that. I'm gonna close this. And that seems to be working. And then that is very interesting because I think it did take up 100%. Well, no, it did not take 100% of the height. It took the width. See, the canvas is still 200 by 200, but the visualization itself it's a regular div, I guess. So yeah, it's just a regular div, so that means it is by default going to take 100% of the space width-wise if it's not set. Now it is interesting that in the other two views, I'm curious if the div is everywhere. No, it is being constrained. And I don't exactly know why. I guess, yeah, so anyways, it's being just constrained, which is very interesting. But it definitely doesn't look right here. In this mode, it does not look right. So what we really want to see at first is that this goes all the way down here too. This azure color goes all the way down to here. So we have like a little black corner. And it's not what we're really in the end going to want is that. But I guess for the first part, we're going to set the width. So we're getting this here. And so basically, since we're already doing after view it and render in native element, I guess that's probably why we're doing this. I think here is the spot to set the width and height. But I don't know. Now that I think about it, so view. Okay, so render in native element. Oh, okay, so this renders it. Oh, and I guess you know what? This would be a good time to set the width and the height now, because I think all of this, when I have this mode, I'm going to want to be able to resize it and stuff, and I just want it to redo. It'll be good to have both of those together because this isn't going to be good enough in that situation. It's going to need to redraw. I mean, maybe it will be good enough. I don't know, but I'm going to put all that stuff there. So don't know what the native element is though. So dot log. I should be able to console log this, and then mouse over it and see. I think the native element is likely the whole visualization. So maybe I can set, and I know this is a DOM object, so I should be able to set the width and the height in it when it's time, and that does not work very well, that view, when it redraws. Add view. Probably should have done that from here. And then inspect. Might be a little late. I don't know if my console log is there. Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so the native element is the whole. So I could set the width and the height to the passed in width and height here. Now there always are some timing issues with when these widths and heights get set. So, you know, that wouldn't surprise me if we have to deal with that, but we shouldn't have to deal with that now. So I have this code. Ask ChatGPT what the easiest way to set that CSS. Angular code to set the width and height of the native element. Let's see. So it looks like this is I don't think that's right. Oh wait, set this renderer. Oh, I have to bring in this renderer object. If you don't need I think this is, if you don't need render to, e.g. your search safe to directly modify. Okay, so this will work with server-side rendering. I did not set that up, server-side rendering on this. Yeah, so we definitely want to do this. And so it's sort, what? Okay, so it does not allow that. And we are checking for it already. So you can't have that little question mark there. So very good example of code that you copy straight from ChatGPT. I asked it, I prompted it perfectly, and then it gave me some code that doesn't work because this question mark doesn't work. And the reality is that ChatGPT has never written a line of code, or this kind of code. So it doesn't know if that works or not. It has no way of checking if that works. It's kind of wild that it knew that I wanted a 200 width. Okay, so now what I expect to, it's kind of a step forward, step back. I expect to kind of see it work right the way it was, which is not the way we want it. But, you know, you kind of have to work backwards. See, so now we're back to that, but now let's see if I can set it to st width. See if this is a problem. There could be timing issues. I think it's like that, st width. Maybe it's width tx. What am I doing wrong? looks like that. S2px and st height px. And these little guys here are template literal strings. Is what's that called? What that's called. And back to here. Reload. Add a viz. Add a viz. I feel like it added a viz when it wasn't supposed to, but oh well, no, probably not. It probably. Yeah. Okay. So this did not work. So it was at app viz that. Was there an error in the console? No. And this is the visualization, but its width didn't get set. Which is weird. Let's go look in there and see if we see our. Okay. Maybe I'm just doing this wrong? I don't think so. All right. Let's go over here. Reload. I guess that was good enough. I didn't even need to add one. ST width. Oh, was I supposed to say this? I think I was supposed to say this dot ST width. Or maybe I'm just doing this completely wrong. Wrong again, AA run. I guess, yeah, we can see pretty easily. Look at our console log. So yeah, his width isn't set. Oh no, the canvas is set, but the, let's see, go to this view, update. Yeah, and his width is not set. Let's go back in here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. This should not matter. I'm just gonna pop this into the console. Okay, what am I doing wrong? I think it's supposed to be $1. I could have sworn it was supposed to be $1. Oh, it looks like that was my problem. What's your problem, dude? Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Add one of these. Go over here, go there. Still no luck. So this is our visualization. Still doesn't have a width and a height. I'm going to put the debug right there because we're going to shift. Okay, so this render. Let's see. Okay, so it's saying that that is nothing. And then if I copy this, it's probably going to be 0. Would be my guess. And that's what I was kind of saying earlier, is we're going to have timing issues. We're going to have issues where Oh, with signals, you have to do this. Silly rabbit. Silly rabbit. Silly rabbit. Or as a junior developer would say, idiot, what is wrong with me? Don't do that to yourself. That is a mistake. That will accumulate and mess you up. You don't want to be messed up. Messed up developers is just so 2000. No one wants messed up developers anymore. They used to appreciate a good flawed developer. Oh, that looks so much better. So basically, now let's go over here to our elements, or to our console. Well, that's weird. Oh, okay, yeah, because I'm defaulting it to 200. So the next thing to do will be to see what, to figure out how to pass in the correct width and height for this. So we basically fixed it for the other two views, and now we're ready to actually try to fix it for this view, and we've sort of set up a little bit of an architecture for that. So anyways, that is that. It's 8:55. I got work in 5 minutes. Should be a very cool work day. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.